living in relationships with others. The reality of renovation is that to begin the repair, replace, and revitalization, there has to be a removal of the old worn-out, damaged, and decaying remains of old.
That's right.
How do we do this? Real quickly, we focus on framing repairs, fundamental restructuring, and foundational revitalization. In doing this, I want to draw your attention to Psalms 28, 1 through 9. The writer of the 28 Psalms came to worship one day, needing renovation.
Look at the text.
A good deal was happening in his life, and he felt some desperation. He felt, for example, a little isolated, a little alone, and he needed to know that God was not very far away, and that God was listening to him. So he came to get restored. As you read on, you find that that same psalmist was in trouble with some folks. He didn't feel good about his neighbors. He saw himself surrounded by all sorts of mischief makers. The psalmist came to worship, feeling out of sorts with his neighbors, and needed restoration. And you know what he got? Let's find out how. First of all, he speaks about that feeling of being alone and unheard in Psalms 28, 1 through 2.
Cry out.
And then he tells us about the folks he stuck with. He brings that concern to his worship life in Psalms 28, 3 through 5. Now there's a turning point in the Psalms. Now there's a different feeling. And at this point, the psalmist gives his lips. He feels different. Something happens for him. Something, if you will. That was Psalm 28, 6 through 9. What happened here? And how did he get restoration? He focused on framing repairs of his worship, the fundamental restructuring of his worship, and the foundational revitalization of his worship. In the first place, he brought his whole self to worship. Soul and body, mind and heart. Thinking and feeling. He brought his whole self, and not just a part. To me, oh Lord, I call. He brought his voice, y'all. I lift up my hands toward the sanctuary. That may not sound special to you, but he brought his physical self. He used his body in worship. And then he said, in the Lord my heart trusts.
I hear your voice.
The psalmist brought his emotional life. He brought his feelings. We must understand renovation in our worship will entail us bringing our whole self and to use our whole self in worship. That is focusing on framing the repairs of our worship, the fundamental restructuring of our worship, the foundational revitalization of our worship. If someone were to ask you to define worship, how would you explain it? If someone were to question you as to where worship takes place, how would you respond? Is worship confined to a specific time frame? For instance, does worship begin at 10 and stop at 11 a.m.? Is worship like that faucet that one cuts off and on? Is worship something that you perform once a week? Oh, I'm sorry, twice a week. We got Bible study. No. Worship is a submission of all our nature to God. It is the quickening of conscience by His holiness, the nourishment of mind with His truth, the purifying of imagination by His beauty, the opening of the heart to His love, the surrender of will to His purpose, and all of this gathered up in adoration, the most selfless emotion of which our nature is capable, and therefore the chief remedy for that self-centeredness which our original sin and the source of all actual sin. The highest duty that a Christian has is to worship. I think we all understand that, but I'm not quite sure because we sit and listen to the preacher, sit and listen to the choir, stand and mouth for a hymn or two, but then sit down again. We use our hands for only two things. We fill out a visitor's card and we drop something off the plate. What we do in worship too often is exercise in listening and watching a performance and seeing somebody else do it all, and that is our reasonable sacrifice? Of course not. Is innovation possible? Yes. If your whole self is involved, this is the song again. To thee, O Lord,
that's it.
And hear the voice of my supplication. May not have been a quiet little nod off to sleep prayer over in the corner. No. I get the picture of the psalmist standing up in the sanctuary and raising a complaint, loud and insistent. Listen again, I lift my hands toward thy most holy sanctuary. You know what? There are plenty of churches today that where if anybody were to lift up their hands and arms in prayer, they would probably put them out and call them a holy roller. That is literally true, but the psalmist knew that somehow it helps if you throw the whole body in when you work. Y'all, it's not some kind of formula. It's not some kind of priestly mumbo jumbo. It's just throwing the whole self into worship, and renovation begins. Renovation is just following a new blueprint. All you do is tear out the worn and tattered parts. You're only halfway through the renovation. You see the old has to be replaced with the new.